All right, welcome to Live from my drum room. It's great to see you all here today. My guest is legendary drummer, producer, and composer, the one and only Simon Phillips. Simon was my guest back on episode 22 on February 27th, 2021. If you haven't seen that episode, check it out, and I'll put the link in the show notes. Simon's credits are just astounding. They include Judas Priest, Jeff Beck, Pete Townshend, The Who, Mick Jagger, Toto, of which he was a member for 21 years, Hiromi, and his own group Protocol, and many, many more. And speaking of Protocol, Protocol 5 Studio Live Session Volume 2 will be available as a digital release on November 14th through littlebigbeat.com. And I've put that in the live stream, and I will put it in the show notes. And it will be released as a limited edition on vinyl on December 5th, and you can pre-order it on November 21st. And again, through littlebigbeat.com. And again, all those links are in the show notes and in the live stream that I'm presenting today. I've had the pleasure of knowing Simon since 1982, when he did a drum clinic at the music store that I worked at in Boston called E246. Look at those kids right there in that picture, a couple of 20-something-year-old kids right there. Just amazing. And I've had the pleasure of working with Simon on many projects during the 24 years that I worked at Zildjian. He was just an absolute pleasure to work with, and the consummate professional and the epitome of perfection, always. And he's also my dear friend. So with that, I'm honored to have him back with me today. So come along for the ride, and please welcome the one and only Simon Phillips back to Live from my drum room.
Can you hear me? Can you see me?
I can hear you, and I can see you. Welcome, Simon.
Hello. Welcome. Yes.
Great.
Back in your room.
It's great to have you back in my room. It's great to see you again.
Right. Lovely to be here. Good to see you too.
I just showed this little picture, Simon, from the first time we met back in 1982. I never get tired of looking at this photo. Oh, man.
Yep. Isn't that fantastic? It got Lenny on the left.
Yeah.
Rap on the right. Who was that? I know his name.
I know you remember David Duranian.
David Duranian. Who was the guy next to Lenny?
The tall guy next to Lenny was the store manager, my boss at the time at Wurlitzer, a guy named Larry Green.
Right. Okay. Yeah. And that was my first ever drum clinic in the U.S.
Amazing.
Yeah.
And what a drum clinic it was, Simon. I seriously, I remember it like it was yesterday. And I mean, it was just, off the hook. Just incredible.
Well, it's so funny because Lenny actually started the show by playing just a hi-hat and a pair of sticks. And I was watching from behind and going, oh, shit, I got to follow that.
I know he could. Yeah.
Couldn't do any of that stuff, you know?
Well, I remember, and we've talked about this many times. I remember you like running out from backstage behind that big Tama drum kit. And you just you came running behind the kit and started playing before you even sat down. That's what I can you, you just kind of went
well, it was nervous. It was nervous running. I was so nervous of doing drum clinics. I'd only done, I think, a couple in England in 1980 or something, just after I started using Tama drums, which I started in 79. And I was just so nervous. And then to come to the States for an English drummer, it's a big thing, you know, and there's just so many amazing players here, and the level just seems to be so much higher. Well, back then it seemed to be, you know, and so I was just basically nervous most of the time, and just that was the best way to cope with it. Just run like hell and hit something as soon as I was in reach, you know.
Well, it worked. It worked. Oh
great.
Man. Well, I just want to tell you, or I should say, express my condolences to you personally for the loss of your dear friend Anthony Jackson, and all of our loss. And I had the pleasure of seeing you and Anthony with Hiromi on at least a couple of occasions fairly recently, and what a beautiful musician and human. So,
Yeah, yeah, he was amazing. Of course, last night, because I've been getting, as you can imagine, texts and
oh
emails,
yeah, yeah.
WhatsApps from all over the world, and I actually wrote a tribute to him yesterday, which took I couldn't get to it. I just couldn't. I was just I did it was like but it eventually came together. And last night I went down a rabbit hole on YouTube and just watched a whole bunch of stuff, and it was lovely. And mainly it was
Yeah,
just
yeah.
here talking. I found an interview that we did in England, actually, with Ray Russell. It was for his thesis, actually, to become a doctor of music, or whatever it was he did. And it was lovely to hear, just again, to hear what Anthony had to say, and the way he was so eloquent, and the way he
Oh,
spoke
yeah.
and explained. Beautiful. And also, Anthony was the first bass player to play with Protocol.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was because Protocol, I had done Protocol 1, the first record, and I couldn't get a record deal. Nobody did, no, none of the record companies knew what to do with it, the kind of music it was. I wasn't a guitarist. And so I thought, well, I'm going to play everything. I've got the studio, I've got the synthesizer. So I started doing my Jan Hammer impersonations and songs, and made this record. And then in, I think, 1990 it was, we got the chance to play at the Montreux Jazz Festival. So, of course, always my choice since I had first played with him in 1982 was, if I ever did anything, a solo project, I would always get Anthony. And I called him and he said, sure, I'll come over. And he flew over and joined Tony Hymas on keyboards
Oh,
from
yeah.
Jeff Beck there and back, and who I had a long history with, and also Ray Russell, who's actually the longest is the longest friendship in the music business. I met him in 1973.
Wow.
73 or 74. We were doing a session together in London at Essex Music or something like that. And he was really a mentor. We were in a band together, and he gave me so much advice, but in a very, very cool way. It wasn't like, right, you need to, it was
Mhm.
just, we would just talk. Actually, we get stoned together, really, and then just talk. It was 1973, 74.
Yeah.
That's what one did, if you're a musician. Uh, and open a can of baked beans for dinner, and go and buy some Remo drum heads because I didn't have an endorsement. And, that's that's how we did
Man.
it.
And
So,
and and
first baseman.
that's so great. That's so great. And I was just going to say, I mean, I think people watching this know this already about you, but I mean, 1973 or 4, and by my math, you were 16, 17 years old, but already playing professionally for 10 years or more at least. Or so,
Yeah, I joined my dad's band when I was 12 years old, 1969. So technically, I've been professional since I was 12 because I was getting
yeah,
paid.
yeah,
He paid
yeah.
me. It was amazing.
It all worked out pretty great. Yeah.
Yeah.
Good old Sid, man. And you mentioned Jeff Beck, and I was going to play something from Jeff Beck, but I thought maybe since we're talking about protocol, and I said during the intro that there's a release coming out in just a few weeks, November the 14th, a digital version of Studio. Well, I'm going to make sure I read this title properly. Protocol 5 Studio Live Session, available November 14th for digital download. And I thought we'd play a track from the most recent Protocol record.
Yep.
That
That,
sound
that, yeah.
all right. And we'll kind of move around through the history of Simon and play
You
some.
want me to explain a little bit about the Little Big Beat sessions?
Yes, if you would, please. That would be great.
So a friend of mine called Little Concierge, he owns a studio in Liechtenstein, which is where Neutrik are located. So if anybody has those lovely Neutrik connectors, the 3-pin or 5-pin XLR connectors, they're expensive, but they're the easiest to wire up. So if you do your own wiring, Neutrik. Actually, there's a lot of Chinese versions too. But anyway, Liechtenstein, he has a beautiful studio there. But he also runs a wonderful series of live studio recordings with an audience. And we have, I think, about 80 people in the room, all wearing a set of headphones.
Mm.
And he builds up a mix for everybody to listen to the band, plus the band are right there in front of them. And they're all around us. There's video too. Beautiful video. And he records it he has two Studer A827s, multi-track machines, which he manages to find tape for, which is great. So they're analog recordings mixed in the digital domain, but captured on analog. And his specialty is cutting vinyl, 180 or 190 gram vinyl. And they're beautiful. He masters them beautifully. He cuts them beautifully. And it was the first tour that we did with the beginning of Protocol 5, with the same band that I have today, with Alex Hill on guitar, Jacob Cesny on horn, Otmar Ruiz on keyboards, who was in Protocol 4 as well, and of course Ernest Tibbs on bass, who has been in my band since 2013 when we did Protocol 2. So the band now is a well-oiled machine, and we will be recording a new album in January, actually. But this is from our first tour together, but it's a very cool atmosphere because it's kind of half studio, half live recording, you know?
All right. Well, what I have to play, Simon, I don't think I have a copy of that, but what I have is When the Cat's Away from Protocol 5.
Sure.
All right. Yeah. I didn't get in advance of that, but this is basically the same lineup as you say is what the next record will be. And
same band. Yeah.
Same band. Okay. And this was recorded at Little Big Beat Studio?
No. This Protocol 5 was recorded in Carbonite, which is a studio up in Ojai, California.
Ah, okay.
Where I live. It's my local studio, actually. And it's a great studio. Wonderful collection of microphones, great engineer, Jason Mariani. And we all went in there. COVID was still on, but it was 2021 by then. And yeah, we made the record, and then I brought it back into this room and mixed it. And that was it. Yeah.
Fantastic. All right. Well, I'm going to play this track right now. We'll listen to When the Cat's Away. And this is from Protocol 5. And apologies for the confusion on that. Yeah, here it comes. Man, I mean, everybody's commenting, watching this on your sound. I mean, your playing obviously is just always just perfection, but your sound, and you mentioned that, and I assumed you engineered that record, but did you use a house engineer? Is he the guy that works at the studio?
Yes, the guy that recorded is Jason Mariani.
Yes.
He owns the and he's a wonderful engineer. And but he's also worked with me a lot with me engineering. And now, so I mean, we all do things a different way, you know,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
he knows exactly how I like to do it. And he's so used to my drum kit. I mean, I don't even, when I do sessions there now, my drum tech, Adam, he takes my drum kit in. And in fact, Jason even got all the microphones that I have, the same ones, because he loves the
Ah,
way they sound, they work.
yeah. Yeah.
So he has some really nice mics for overheads, and he's got a pair of the new U67 reissue Neumanns, Telefunkens. He's got some very nice, vintage, but new vintage, as they
Hmm.
call it. And I just turn up, and he's still patching away madly. In about 5 minutes, channel 23, channel 24. There's a lot of microphones, a big drum
Oh,
kit. Yeah. Uh,
oh,
and I go out and play, and he gets the sounds, and I come in and listen. I go, yeah, okay, yeah, that sounded good. Let's do something here, do something here, and
yeah.
it's great because I can then concentrate on more the production and musical scenarios. It's very
Yeah.
all on your own, which I did. I did for Protocol 2, well, all of the albums really up until the last one, Protocol 5. Yeah, it was the
Yeah.
first time I actually had an engineer one of my records. And oh boy, I mean, the older you get, it gets harder. It's just like, okay, let someone else do it. Um,
No, I get it, Simon. And I didn't realize that. And he must be really incredible to be able to, I mean, I know that was so personal for so many years to you, your sound, that's your reputation. When people hire you, they want your sound. When you do your own records, obviously you want your sound. So what an incredible feat to have someone that you trust like that you can just hand it to them. So
I
bravo.
also love working with great engineers too, because as much as I mean, I've been a professional engineer since 1983. That's when I first started, thanks to Mike
Yeah.
Oldfield, fired the engineer and said, "Right, you're engineering." I went, "It's something I always wanted to do," and he knew I was into it. He knew I
Yeah.
understood signal path, but of course I had to learn, And but even still, with all those years, I still love it when I work with a great engineer because they have different ears and they hear things differently.
Hmm.
And as long as they get a great sound, I mean, it's not rocket science. You use the right microphones in the right room, and with the kit that is well balanced and sounds good. It should be straightforward. But it still amazes me. I think it was last year or 2 years ago. I worked with an engineer called Nico Bolas, who's very well known.
Hmm.
Was worked at Capitol. He was worked under Al Schmidt. Worked a lot together with him. They even wear ties to sessions, and he still does that. He has that tradition, because Al came from the old school where
Yeah. Yeah.
always wore suit and tie, just like in the BBC in England,
Yeah.
or
Yeah.
at EMI or Air Studios. It's only when we started doing, rock and roll sessions that people turn up in t-shirts. But that's what it was like, even into the 80s at some of those studios, the more straight, corporate studios. It was like that. And we worked together for the first time. And he let me position. He said, "Oh, why don't you put the mics up?" I went, oh, okay, all right. And are you okay using these? I use these Shaw SM27s or KSM27s for the tom-toms
Hmm.
because I mean, there's a lot of great microphones, but the great thing about this microphone is its rejection. It's a nice side address capacitor microphone, but yet it doesn't pick up too much. And that's the
Ah,
secret.
yeah.
You start putting 414s or U67s or 87s, which is what we used to do and Trident used. great sounding microphone, but it picks up way too much
Mhm.
and end up with a washy sound. And that's why a lot of people, well, there's other reasons for using dynamic mic. I mean, there's many ways to do it. But yeah, he loved it. He said, yeah, so I placed them where I, normally place them. Started playing. He got a sound. He said, well, come and have a listen. And I went into the control room and I went, how do you do that? I looked at the board, and same with Bob Clearmountain. I look, or Elliot Shiner and Al Schmidt, and I'm looking. There's nothing. They're doing nothing. Just mic input, fader, which is the output, and a little bit of this and a little bit of that, and beautiful, absolutely beautiful. And I just love doing that, and it's a good reminder also to me, that these guys have been doing it for years, and they just get such a great sound. It's lovely.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's great to hear you say that too. That talking about these great engineers that are just like legends, and learning from them. And I think of you as just like, to never take anything away from your playing, but your sound has always just been it's always captured. Going back to the early '80s when I first started listening to you, and I was actually going to play something. I think the first recording I ever heard of you that someone turned me on to you, which is not surprisingly Space Boogie, and that was 1979 or 80.
We recorded that in 1980, EMI Studios. It's known as Abbey Road now, but it was always called. Above the door were 3 letters, EMI. It wasn't Abbey Road.
Right.
We were in Studio 3, which was the Pink Floyd studio, and Ken came over he lived in LA at that time. He came over to engineer, and that was actually the first time I got to work with Ken. And yeah, that's it. Yeah.
All right. Well, this is like the perennial Simon Phillips classic drum song. So we'll play a little bit of Space Boogie, Jeff Beck, From There and Back, 1980. I just have to say, Simon, listening to that, one of the things that was probably lost on me as a young drummer listening to that and just purely just knocked out by your technique is your dynamics. As I listen to this song more kind of, kind of as a deeper dive, you can actually hear where you're playing a little softer and then during the instrumental sections and like with the, one point, and then you come back in, which is, I guess, what the chorus would be, is where you then it's, even more thunderous, and it's brilliant. It really is. It's
Fast too.
and
I have to make a real own up. I mean, that was recorded in 1980. So how old was I? I was 23 or something.
yeah.
Uh, and a few years ago, Dromeo called me to do one of their things, one of their episodes, recordings.
Hmm.
One of the tunes they wanted me to play was Space Boogie. And I went, well, uh, the only way to do that is we're going to need to recut it because I couldn't get hold of the masters or anything. And also, you've got to remember, we didn't use click in those days. And
Right.
that varied from, I think, 123 to 132 throughout the whole thing. I mean, it's not the way it was in those days. I mean, you
Yeah.
don't,
Yeah.
but when you really, try to look at it on the screen with a click, and you go, oh, wow, it's all over the place. But music was like that back then.
Exactly.
Um,
Yeah.
I thought, well, okay, but we're going to need to redo it. So I did got transcribed the intro synth part that Tony did, got the chords together. I didn't try doing a solo, of course, but we got, did a basic demo so other people could play on it. We got a guitar player, a keyboard player, and a bass player. But the tempo, when I sat down to try to play it at the original tempo, couldn't do it. Absolutely couldn't. No, absolutely no way. I went, oh wow, because I mean, I don't really. I mean, sometimes with Protocol, we do play it very occasionally, but that's fine when you're on tour and you're playing every night.
Yeah.
Then you get the stamina and then you get the speed back up. But cold like doing studio recordings and stuff, and then I go
Yeah.
out. Oh wow, okay, we have to slow this down.
Thank you for your honesty, because I was going to ask you that. Well, when I first met you and you did that clinic in '82, it was only a couple of years later, and you did play it, and I'm pretty sure you played it at tempo. Someone
Oh,
asked you to play it, to demonstrate it,
oh
and
yeah.
you just came out and you just killed it. It was just like, oh my God. But
If we do play it, sometimes we play it as an encore, and if we do play it regularly, then I can get it, back up to speed. But then there's the other thing: when does it become silly? When does it become too fast?
mhm,
And I
yeah,
see some of the very rare recordings, or rather, very rare videos, which a couple have appeared on YouTube. It's like, what were we thinking? And that's actually when I started to use, it was very soon after that I started to use a metronome.
mhm,
Uh, Actually, no, you know what? It was a little bit later. Actually, that was another thing, another reason why I started using it. But I remember listening back to some tapes. I used to record every show with a Sony Pressman, which I
mhm,
used to sell on Mo Foster's bass rig. And he had one, and I think Tony, I don't know, we all recorded it.
yeah.
And sometime in 1981, I went around to Mo's house and he played me a couple of cassette recordings. I went, what are you thinking? I mean, Scatterbrain got so fast. I mean, we could hardly play it. Jeff could hardly play it. It was just kind of too, I mean, he did. It was amazing, but it was too fast. We didn't have the discipline in those days we were just having fun. I
Yeah,
think
yeah.
we were the new Mahavishnu Orchestra, really, but not quite. But yeah, so actually there's a tempo. It needs to be up there, but it also needs to be listenable and
Yeah,
playable and have a groove. It gets too fast, then it's just a wash, a sonic wash.
yeah.
So
No,
that's
I was just going to, no, that's a great lesson. I was going to say, I mean, I think that was typical of just so much music from that time. As you say, it was energetic, it was fast, and yeah. But what a moment in time that was, though, to just, I mean, that's just such an amazing recording, that I think stands the test of time, all these, 45 years later. It's a brilliant piece of music.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah.
Yeah.
That was, you know, the composition. So when we were doing There and Back, Jan Hammer had written a whole bunch of music, and we went into the studio. This is just after I met Jeff, and he wanted me to play with him. Great, fantastic. And we went to Pete Townshend's studio, to Ramport, and I suggested the studio mainly because it's a rock and roll studio and it's very private, and there's no canteen with other sessions going on, and you've got brass players coming in, string players, which Jeff
Mhm.
wouldn't have wanted back then. He wanted, to be fairly isolated and private. So we went to Ramport in Battersea, and I recommended John Punter, who was at the time one of my favorite engineers. He engineered loads of Nazareth, Roxy Music, loads of stuff actually. And I think we recorded 5 tunes. And then then Stanley Clarke became involved, and we did a tour of Japan, and we
Mhm.
did a couple of these songs, and then we did a European tour later. But kind of after that tour, Jeff would invite Tony and myself down to the house to play, because he's got a record to do. But there was really no music. I mean, we played Jan stuff, but and a couple were beautiful, but he was looking for something else. And that's when I realized, sorry. Yeah.
Oh, that's okay.
That's when I realized that we need to write music. And I said to Tony, we got to write some music for Jeff. And I think I know what it is he needs. It needs to be rock and roll, but it is instrumental. So it needs adult chords. It needs a certain amount of jazz harmony, but with much more of a rock and roll melody
Mm.
and grooves. So we got together and we started writing material. We'd do a demo on either my Porter studio or Tony's Revox, and we take a cassette down to Jeff's house and give it to him. Say, right, here's our first song. And he played it, and he was like, yeah. And he picks up his guitar and starts picking up the melody, and then before we knew it, we've got our first tune, and he
Yeah.
loved it. So we got together again, and then we wrote more, and we were down there. And I used to take just a little Ludwig kit, single kit, and we were jamming, and halfway through the afternoon, I was getting pretty bored on this drum kit. Jeff had a little Premiere kit in the corner. So while we're having a little tea break, I dragged the bass drum and the tom-tom, and I didn't have a hi-hat holder, so I had to keep it on the legs, so it was a little bit wide, but at least I
Mhm.
had two bass drums. And we started playing this boogie, this kind of shuffle.
Mm.
And I thought, right, here we go. So I started playing Quadrant 4, that groove
Yeah.
that Billy, you know. And then as we were playing, I just went into 7. I just started, which means that the beat kept turning round.
Yeah.
And Jeff followed me and played this riff in 7. And that's when I went, that's our next song, Tony. And that's
Wow.
where playing a boogie in 7 came from.
Wow.
And I went over to Tony's house, or either his or he came over to mine. I don't remember, because I can't find the original demo, which is, well, probably got destroyed in the fire. And he came up with this intro. I went, whoa, Tony, what is that? That was the start of it. And we went
Yeah.
down with our demo, which I wish I could find that original demo.
Oh man.
I found some jam stuff that we did down at Jeff's house, actually with John Paul Jones on bass, funny enough, but I couldn't find the original demo. And anyway, he loved it, and that was the story of Space Boogie.
Wow. And was the original jam at that tempo? Was it
Oh, no, it's much
no.
slower. Much
Yeah.
slower.
Okay.
In 1979, we went into Maison Rouge Studios, which was owned by Barrymore Barlow, the drummer of Jethro Tull.
Mm. Mhm.
And we had Rick Laird come over from New York, and he was actually the first guy to play the first bass player to play that tune.
Okay.
And it was, I wish I had a copy of it. I don't, sadly, but it was slower, definitely slower.
Yeah.
But the tune worked. The tune was great. By the time we got to EMI in 1980, it was faster.
Well, and the idea of doing it in seven is just genius. The way, like you said, the way the beat, turns around and comes back. I mean, that's like the magic sauce to that, that makes it just,
It
such a,
also differentiates because I mean I don't I mean as you know Billy Cobham is a huge influence, was then and still is,
of course. Yeah. Yeah.
was, and the reason for that was well, first of all, his sound, but the way he transformed from playing straight ahead, with Horace Silver, to suddenly with this rock and roll vibe and the power, and that made sense to me because I had kind of done this to straight ahead jazz. I said I
Mm.
swore I'd never play straight ahead again because I was stupid. I was young, but that was because of playing with my dad for 4 years, and I wanted to play with Stan Kenton, Don Ellis, and Chicago. I want to play with all those bands. And I said, right, I'm not going to play straight ahead again. And that also kind of coincided with me swapping from right-handed to left-handed because I wanted to sound different. And again, that was influenced by seeing Billy
Mm.
and Eddie White. It was like, wow, okay, it looks so cool. I want to do that. But I was at that time I was 18,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
I was doing sessions. So most of the sessions in 1975, 76 were disco. They were
Right.
pretty technically. So that's why I used to turn up and play left-handed for as long as I could until I ran out of chops. And so to me, to play it, I love that groove, but to play it in seven differentiated it to quadrant four.
Yeah. Yeah.
That idea, and we did it in seven. And to me, that was kind of okay. I think that's okay. I'm stealing. I've stolen everything from drummers. I mean, that's how I learned to play. But put it into a different context, which I think
Yeah.
is a way to do that stuff. To be truthful to it.
Yeah, no, that's great, Simon. It's an homage to Billy, but it's still your thing. That's wonderful. And I didn't realize that you were that far along in your playing when you switched to left-handed or really ambidextrous. I thought it was much earlier. That you'd been doing it at a much younger age, but so you'd already really been well onto your way as a session drummer when you
Yeah.
switched to that. Yeah.
All those early albums from all the recordings I did from, well, including my dad's, when I started doing sessions with him in 71. And I think the first album I played him was in 72. But all the early albums I did in 73, 74, 75 were all right-handed.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Hit double sometimes. By 74, I was using double, well, mixture, depending on the session.
Yeah.
But it was all during 1975 where I was teaching myself to play left-handed. And then when the band I was in, Chopin, we broke up because Don Arden, our manager, refused to pay us any more money. And I was out of work for a bit, and then slowly the telephone started ringing. And I thought, well, maybe I should just go into these sessions playing left-handed. It was a different feel, it was a different sound, and it suited what we were doing at the time. And I thought, okay, and I'm not telling anybody, I'm just gonna do it. And it just kind of stuck.
Wow. But that took a lot of balls to do that, to go into a session and feel confident enough, that you could play that well, having just switched from being naturally
Yeah.
right-handed to left-handed. So,
Very single-minded, quite ballsy, but very shy too.
yeah.
I wasn't very good at saying, hello to people. And often I'd set my drum kit up and the engineer of all these different studios, they were getting to know me. Some didn't, but some did. And we got a little sound. And then I just sat in the control room with a cup of coffee and a couple of biscuits and kind of hid really. And then all these other musicians started coming up, especially if it was a new session, where I hadn't worked with anybody before. And suddenly the control room is full of people, and the producer, I remember this one particular session up at Air Studios in Air Studio One, Tony Ashton from a band called Ashton, Gardner and Dyke,
Mm.
Kim Gardner, who opened up the Cat and Fiddle in LA.
Oh,
That
yeah.
was his
Yeah.
band.
Yeah.
And, right? And they were all sitting around chatting away, and it's has anybody seen this drummer, Simon Phillips? Is he late? What's happening? And um, he's over there, and I'm like, everybody turns around and goes, but a couple of them have heard. Well, one of them played in a band called Medicine Head, and I saw him on the road, so he knew me. I didn't really know him, but he'd seen me play. And then the percussionist, Tony Carr, saw me play with my dad, and he was like, I know you. And because I was a kid back then, and
Yeah, yeah.
oh, okay. Can you read? Yeah, of course. Oh, well, here's a chart, and got the chart. Well, okay. Well, everybody, I guess we'd better go out and play. I mean, he really didn't believe I was the drummer. Out we went, and nervous, but I was also very, and the engineer's laughing because he's already
Yeah.
done me. He's just like going, "Oh, this is going to be great," Well, it's like this, and so it's like, do you want to count it in? Because obviously I've got overhead mics. I said, "Yeah, sure, no problem." So I did my thing, I said, "Here we go, 1, 2, 3, tap, go, go, boom." Oh, I take like that, right? And it's funny. When I air drum, I play right-handed. It's so and and we did the track, and it was kind of silence afterwards, and then people kind of looked in the drum booth and said, "Right, I think we should go and have a listen to that." And it was a take.
Oh man, that's so great. That's
So weird. It was weird and it wasn't because that's all I knew. When I think back to it, s- yeah,
yeah.
it was a very unusual situation. But in terms of the confidence, I'd already been doing it for years anyway, a few years. So that's how I wanted the drum kit to sound, playing left-handed, and also the way I tune the drums too,
Mhm.
with saying goodbye to the old way of doing of a studio sounding kit. I just took all the tape off and let them ring.
Yeah, yeah. And
I-
yeah, I was just going to say too, just a comment that just knowing you as well as I do, I don't imagine you've ever been in a situation where you weren't prepared for it. I mean, and that's a great example where, as you say, you might have been maybe a little shy or a little reserved, but you certainly, were well prepared to cut the session. And that's a great story. Yeah. And you mentioned earlier on too that you had that There and Back had been recorded at Pete's studio, or you had done a demo at Pete's studio, Pete Townsend.
No, we did the first sessions were done at Ramport, which was Pete's
Yeah,
studio.
yeah.
Uh, However, only one of the drum tracks recorded there. Hang on. I have to think about this now. No, that was recorded at Scorpio. Let me think about this. I think no, Ken Scott wasn't mad about the sound, so
Ah,
he had me redo the drums to "You Never Know" and "Too Much to Lose." Um,
wow.
no click.
No click.
Didn't use click. So I was playing to my own. I didn't hear my drums, but I was playing to Jan's synth bass, Jeff's guitar, and whatever else had been overdubbed, but no drums.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's
I think the drums had to disappear because we only had a 24 track.
yeah.
I don't think in recording we were running two machines. So I think it was just one 24 track. So he would have had to have raised the drums that were there. But we didn't even think about it. And I said, okay, I'll go out and replace it.
Amazing. Amazing.
So,
Amazing.
so the drums that are on those two tracks were actually recorded at EMI. One in Studio 2, actually, oh gosh. Oh, it's hard for me to remember. I do remember doing some recordings in Studio 1, which is huge. It's the
Mhm.
orchestral.
Mhm.
And so we had some ambience mics up. But funny enough, in the mix, he didn't utilize it the way I was imagining he would, Ken.
Mhm.
I would have loads of ambience on it.
Yeah, yeah.
It was actually quite tame, conservative, the mix in that, from that respect, wasn't conservative from the other respect, the impact that
Mhm.
Ken, which is great.
Had you, and at that time, when you mentioned Pete, had you already been working with him? Is that you guys knew each other when?
No, so Rampart was one of the studios that was on the circuit. So I used to do loads of sessions there.
Yeah, yeah.
We recorded Judas Priest, Sin After Sin there in 1977. Ooh, recorded, trying to think of all the other sessions I did there too. None of any note that anybody would know. And that's why I said let's go to the Rampart to record, mainly because of the privacy aspect, you know.
Hmm.
But it wasn't until 1979 that I worked with Pete on Empty Glass, and we didn't do that at Rampart. We went to Wessex
Ah,
because I think that's where Chris Thomas and Bill Price wanted to work, and
mhm.
that's where Chris and Bill did the Sex Pistols.
Right. Okay.
Different studio, yeah.
Right. And that was your first. That was the beginning of your working with Pete.
Yeah.
70 Empty Glass 79. Got it. Okay. I thought we'd play something from Pete's, not from Empty Glass, but the record after that,
Yeah.
from All the Best Cowboys Have Chinese Eyes.
Ah, which one? Slit skirts?
Slit Skirts.
Ah.
Well, and also I want to mention a couple of quick things too, just for the drummers watching, and I know there are many. A couple of songs I should have pointed out too, but when we played When the Cat's Away, the Protocol song, there was a section where you were riding your swish cymbal, and I wanted to point that out just as a what I think of as one of your trademarks, where you play your swish, sort of really the traditional way that drummers used to play it as a ride cymbal. Yeah, and it's just done so tastefully, and so it's the and I've seen you play live so many times where you do that. You just sort of move to that right up here and you play that, and I believe I heard it during Space Boogie too,
You
at a
did,
point. Yeah.
absolutely.
Okay.
Yes. Yeah,
Yeah.
especially at the end, I think. Yeah, anyway, at some point, yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, to
just
me,
just to point that out. Yeah.
but there again, I grew up in the 60s listening to Louis Bellson and Buddy Rich and anybody that would play a swish. John Van Olen with Stan Kenton.
Yes.
Which so to me it's always been a ride cymbal and a big cymbal, and I don't actually really understand the concept of using a swish or Chinese cymbal as a crash cymbal. It's just loud and annoying.
Yeah, I know. It sort of morphed into becoming really just an effects, sort of crash cymbal. But I,
Yeah,
I just think it's great that you use it in that traditional way, and you use it so effectively that way too, where it creates a different mood, a different color to the song.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
It's and that particular one is a 1979 24-inch swish knocker, no rivets.
Oh man.
I
Yeah.
have I have three of them, two of them which I got from the factory. And Leon, who was helping me pick out symbols, he was going, I said, what is that? He said, I don't know. Let's have a look. And he pulled it out. Oh, I went, oh yeah. Oh yeah. That's fantastic. And then many years later, I'm rehearsing in LA at SIR on Melrose, and in walks a drummer, and he's clutching this big cymbal under his arm. And he comes up to me and he says, hi, my name's Eric Singer. I'm a drummer. I'm, a fan of yours. I went, oh, very nice to meet you. He said, listen, I have this symbol. I will never use it, and I know you use it. Here you are. And he gave me a 24
Oh,
Swiss knocker. So, Eric, thank you.
Eric, he is an amazing guy. I just texted him the other day, in fact.
Oh, really?
Yeah, we've been trying to find a date to have him come on here with me, and I just reached out to you. But hopefully he'll see this. I'll make sure he sees it. It's so lovely of you to mention him, and that you've told me that story. It's great.
It's and well, they're one-off symbols,
Yeah,
and I have some later ones that were made in the mid 2000s, but they're not the same. They just don't have that whatever it is that these old ones do. So
yeah,
symbol, yeah, yeah,
yeah. That one that you have is just so special. It's just got that roar to it. That
yeah.
yeah, that body. But yeah, well, yeah. So let's play Slit Skirts, and I made a little note that I'm for all our drummer friends watching. I actually found the section at 2 minutes and 40 seconds where there's that drum fill that I've talked to you about many times over many dinners in our history, but it's just one of the coolest that where Pete's saying the music, the band sort of comes down and Pete's saying, God, it's just before the line about where she doesn't work off her frustrations in the gym or something. And you do that. It's.
I don't remember it, but yeah,
Okay. All right. Well, we'll hear it, everybody. Check it out. This is Slit Skirts, Pete Townshend with the great Simon Phillips on drums, and just an absolutely amazing song.
I was just 34 years old, and I was still wandering in a haze. I was wondering why everyone I met seemed like they were lost in a maze. I don't know why I thought I should have some kind of divine right to the blues. It's sympathy, not tears people need when they're the front page sad news. The incense burned away, and the stench began to rise. Lovers now estranged avoided catching each other's eyes. Girls who lost their children cursed the men who fit the coil, and men not fit for marriage took their refuge in the oil. No one respects the flame quite like the fool who's badly burned. From all this you'd imagine that there must be something learned. Slip skirt, Jeannie never wears those slip skirts. I don't ever wear no ripped shirts. Can't pretend the going on and never hurts. Neat pants, Jeannie never wears no neat pants. I'd be so drunk to try a new dance, so afraid of every new romance. Slip skirt, Jeannie isn't wearing those slip skirt. She wouldn't wear in those slip skirt. Wouldn't be seen dead in those slip skirt. Romance, why are we thinking of romance? Why can't we drink it up? True heart romance, just need a brief new romance. Let me tell you some more about myself. You know, I'm sitting at home just now. The big events of the day are past, and the late TV shows have come around.
It's coming up.
I'm number one in the home team, but I still feel unfulfilled. A silent voice
comes
in
right
a
here.
broken heart complaining that I'm unskilled. And I know that when she thinks of me, she thinks of me as him. But unlike me, she don't work off her frustration in the gym. Recriminations fester, and the past can never change. A woman's expectations run from both ends of the range. Once she walked with untamed lover's face between her legs. Now he's cool and stifled, and it's she who has to beg. Slip skirts, Jeannie never wears those slip skirts. And I don't ever wear no ripped shirts.
That is a epic piece of work, Simon. Really, just truly. Did you catch the part I meant, the drum fill?
Yeah. Now I remember it. Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, we recorded that twice. We did the first session. It was a demo actually, and then I don't really know why we did that, but we did. And then I was called back to record it with Bill Price and Chris Thomas producing, and so we recorded the song again, and it was very interesting. The bit where it goes into six.
Mm.
I was originally playing it as a bar of six. I wasn't playing the backbeat all through it.
Mhm.
I can't remember what I was doing. And Chris pointed out, he said, I think you should play straight through that. Just play it like you're playing in four. And I went, oh, really? Okay, all right. Because I kind of really dug the odd meter of it. Yet it took me a while to kind of really appreciate that. But then a few years later, I listened to it and I went, you know what? That was absolutely the right call. It's great. And now hearing it, it makes all the sense. So that's when, good producer in the room really makes a difference.
Yeah, absolutely. And I always want, I mean, I'm assuming with all the work you did with Pete through all the years, he really gave you free rein to kind of just do what you wanted to do, right? I mean, that was, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, Pete is very, you know, one of his things was, well, I've done my bit. I've written the song. I think you're the producer, you produce it. You play it. But they were always, I always tell Pete, I think he gets annoyed at this. I always tell him, your songs just play themselves. I think his reply was, why am I paying you then?
Sounds like something he'd say. Yeah.
Well, they do.
Man.
It's a pleasure when somebody presents you a song and you listen to it and you go, okay, that sounds great, but then you sit down and play it and you go, oh wow, it just makes sense. He writes very playable compositions. I mean, there's always maybe one or two tunes that take a little bit more work, and you figure it out and it's like maybe an arrangement issue. But most of the time it's amazing. He's just I love his songwriting.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
me too. And just on that song in particular, I mean, he must have had some sort of a demo to show you for you to, I mean, because of all the different sort of sections to the song and the changes. So you just, yeah, so you were able to kind of just hear that. And
I don't remember that.
just
he
wondered that.
Charts. I don't think we had charts, but well, actually there was. Yeah, there was. I remember the piano player, Ginny, I think her name was. She was playing acoustic piano. She had a chart.
Oh,
So
okay.
I think somebody did an arrangement of it, or I think so. All I do remember is just sitting down and playing it. So we must have had something to hear the song. I mean, Pete makes wonderful demos. I mean, a lot of his demos are the real thing. They end up on the record.
Yeah. Wow. Well, I'm gonna throw a couple of quick questions at you from the audience watching. This is from Lee Kelly, who I think has maybe asked this question a couple of times. Apologies, Lee. We've got a lot of action going on here. He's asking, just in regard to Anthony and his passing, he said, why isn't Protocol Force Majeure available anywhere anymore? Or I think his original question, is it available anywhere?
No, it isn't. Now, and that's a very good question to ask. It was originally recorded for B&W Music, which was the speaker company, Bowers and Wilkins.
Oh, of course. Yeah.
Oh gosh, my memory now. Robert Trunce, huge fan of music, and he started a label of which Ray Russell was on the label, Ayato Morera and Flora Purim were on the label.
Mm-hmm.
And he signed for Force Majeure. He signed that one. But then I think he sold it to, or something, he licensed it to another company. And then it kind of disappeared. So I remember contacting him a few years later and saying, look, I'd really like the rights to this album. And he said, well, then have it. I went, oh, okay, there's no contract or anything? He said, no. He said, go for it, However, I need the masters. And we can't find the masters.
Oh, man.
The only thing I have, I believe, is a DAT. Some of the DATs are in storage. That's why they're still here. Anything that was here was gone.
Mhm.
Uh, and I thought Ray had I thought he had the multi-tracks, and B, I thought he had the analog mixes, but he couldn't find them either. So, and this is kind of one of the problems about the record business at the moment and recordings. I mean, there's a lot of stuff in storage, but they don't last.
Mm-hmm.
If they're not stored properly and they get really damp, and like in a big storage facility, it's air conditioned, but some of the tapes that are stored from the front and they go all the way back, like there's all the multi-tracks on a shelf. If the air conditioner is hitting the first couple of reels, then they're going to get more damage than the ones at the back.
Mm.
It's a bit of a problem. But analog is the only one that really seems to last. You've just got to bake the tapes and get all the moisture out of it. Otherwise, it'll just gum up the heads and the capstan and the rollers. But it's the digital ones that go. They disappear. The DATs don't play properly. I have up there, I've got a DAT machine which I just bought, well, fairly recently. I actually have two of them because the other one just stopped working. It stopped playing. And a lot of my DATs that I put in have weird sounds on them. They cut out, and then I get a little bit of good audio, and then it cuts out again. And this is a problem, playing old digital tapes. And then a lot of people they were so small, a lot of people are losing them. And so that's the problem with force majeure. It's just I really haven't had a chance to really get back into it. I'm not even sure I even have the artwork. This is the other thing. The artwork to Symbiosis. It wasn't digital in those days. It was analog. And when I got all my masters returned to me from the record company I'm assigned to, Food for Thought. No, not Food for Thought. The German company, Alex Merck Music, Lipstick, that's it. I got no artwork. So to do the Symbiosis re-release, I had to basically just get that scanned at a very high resolution off the original CD and make up a cover that worked in a digipack. These are kind of the problems. So that's a very long answer to a very short question.
No. It's a very in-depth answer. It explains it. Yeah, unfortunately.
I would like to, if we do it, I would love to get a hold of the masters and remaster it properly. But we have to see if the DAT, I think it's around the corner actually there, if that even plays. This is
Yeah. Well, we'll play some more music in the meantime, if that's all right with you. And I thought we'd play something, well known. I had people mentioning this in the comments. Your time with Toto, 21, almost 22 years, right? I mean, that you came in and took over when Jeff passed away, sadly, and this was a recording. This is King of the World from Falling in Between, and great sounding record, great song. That you engineered this record and engineered pretty much all the Toto records that while you were with the band, or most of them, I think, right?
Actually, no. The only record I engineered, because the only record we did after Tamboo. Oh, no, I did two. You're right, I did two. So Tamboo was Elliot Shiner, and that was the first album I did with the band. So I was treading carefully. I was like, just sussing out. I mean, these guys have made plenty of records. They know how to make a record. And we've got, a Grammy Award-winning engineer, Elliot. I mean,
and he had worked with them for many years, right? Elliot Shiner had engineered past Toto records, I think.
Oh yeah. I mean, he worked with the guys for ages. This was the first time I worked with him, and of course, he did Another Lifetime. He recorded that album. But when it came to once I got my studio together, Luke had been working over at my studio, and he was really digging it, and so he mentioned to the band that we should do it at Simon's house, and we did it. We did the covers album, Through the Looking Glass. And then once I got my studio, we then did Falling in Between, and then some live stuff. I also mixed the DVD Live in Amsterdam, I think that one. But yeah, Falling in Between, I engineered the record, but David Paich was asking me to mix it, and I just felt this is going to just be really difficult because I'm a band member, writer, I mean, the mixing stage can get very tense because everybody wants to hear everything their way, you know.
Oh,
I
yeah.
just said, you know what? No way. I'm not going to put myself in that position. I would rather be like you, be able to speak to mixing engineers, go and say, no, I think this should be, you know, I'd like to hear more of this or blah, 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 or, you know, that kind of stuff. So I bowed out of that gracefully and Steve McMillan mixed it. But I used to go to most of the mixing sessions with Steve. And mainly because I was, you know, I'd engineered it and I was very attached to it and very interested in it too, you know. So yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Having been to that studio many times, I can picture your drums in there, and I think you played me some of this record at a point when I was there visiting you. Yeah, yeah. And this is just such a great track. This is King of the World, Toto from Falling in Between, 2006. Does that sound right, Simon?
Yeah, we recorded it in 2005, but it was probably released in 2006. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Well, here it comes. Fabulous drum sound. Fabulous sound overall. Here we go.
Smoke and mirrors, it's a house of cards. Everybody has windows,
Simon, oh, I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, it's great. Great to hear that again. I haven't heard it for a long time.
Yeah, yeah. I was just going to ask you, do you remember, because you're so great at remembering dates, and you might remember this particular tour, but you guys Toto played in New York at BB King's. Was it around the time this record came out, or I don't know why in my mind, I came down to see you, and it was an incredible show. And I was saying to Kelly, I think maybe it was during that time when this record came out, or maybe you're promoting this record.
Yeah,
But you guys,
it might have been in 2005 when we were actually recording the album.
okay.
Actually, it doesn't take very long to find out. Actually, if you're talking about, I can let me see, because I have all the gigs we played.
I figured, yeah.
Yeah, let's go for, and especially during COVID, I spent a lot of time going through old diaries, the ones that survived, and making, all the sessions I did and all that kind of stuff. It was kind of a fun thing to do, and something I would never have time to do other than during COVID.
Yeah, yeah.
Let's have a look. We were recording we started actually in February, and we played a couple of shows. We did Bakersfield, Las Vegas, Long Beach, we did Casino. Oh, yeah, we did we played BB King's in 2005. It was May 22nd, and
Okay.
we were recording the album, so we wouldn't have played anything from the album then.
I see.
But
Okay.
during the process of recording that album.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. And by the way, I have to just say before I forget to tell you that our friend, the great Chris Parker, is watching. And
Oh, really? Hi, Chris.
he said, wow, cool track, great mix.
Lovely.
Yeah.
Well, Chris was at Anthony's tribute concert that we did in February.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, and of course, I don't really get a chance to see a lot of people, that live on the East Coast, and it was lovely to see Chris. He was right as I was at the bar, of course. I was right there in the seat, so it's lovely to see him.
Yeah. He's great.
That was a really beautiful event. The thing we did in Brooklyn at that club, and what was really cool on the way over, Stanley Clarke was sitting a couple of seats behind me, but I didn't know he was there. We did the whole flight until towards the end, and he came up and he said, "Hey, Simon," and I looked up and oh, Stanley. Said, "Yeah, I'd recognize that hair anywhere." And it was really cool. We chatted while we were waiting for our baggage, and he said, "Do you need a lift?" I said, "Well, I was just going to get a cab, but sure." So he gave me a lift. A friend picked him up, but what was lovely was 3/4 of Return to Forever were at that tribute.
How about that?
Lenny and Stanley, and they were sitting on Anthony's sofa from his, when he had his apartment and everything. They brought that in out of storage, and it was great just to see them there. It was lovely, and of course, so many people there that were, who knew Anthony, and a lot of people played. It was great. It was just a lovely event.
That's wonderful. Yeah. That's fantastic. Well, I'm going to press on a little bit with just a little bit more music to have you give us your as you reminisce with me on this. This was a great little something I just wanted to play because it's part of the Symbiosis 30th anniversary edition that's out right now. Came out in 1995, of course. And this was, I guess, a bonus track to the recording. It's Drum Check, and I think it's just talking about engineering and drum sounds, and how you're so well known for your drum sound. This is about a minute long, and it's just a fantastic example of your drum sound. So I'm gonna what were you gonna say? I'm sorry.
No, yeah, I mean, it was, I didn't even know, I didn't know it was on the multi-track. It was only when I received the digital files and Bill Smith did the extraction from the 3348 tapes into Pro Tools at 96K. And he said, "Oh, by the way, there's an extra track on this. I don't know if you." I said, "No, I don't know." He said, "Well, it sounds like a drum solo to me." I went, "Really?" And I trying to do a drum solo, which I don't like doing drum solos on records, and because I'm never happy with them. That's really the reason. But when I heard it, I realized, oh, I know what this is. We had just got drum sounds. Jess Sutcliffe was engineering, and we were A&M, I think Studio C. And he said, right, I'll roll the tape, just play a little bit. And that's what I did. I just played a little bit, and it just made it it wasn't really planned. It was just like a little thing, and I made sure I hit everything,
Yeah. That's what's great about it is, yeah.
and yeah, and then when I heard it, I went, oh wow, oh, this has to go on the record, because I think I just think it's just a nice little thing, to put on. That's it.
Yeah, for us drummers, absolutely. This is so great. And as you pointed out, that's what I loved about it, is that every part of your kit, you hit every bit of it, and it's just such a wonderful sounding drum kit always. Yeah.
Thank you.
All right, here it comes. Drum check. Oh, that's so great. That is so great.
You know what? I should have called it "Where's One."
No, we all of us drummers could find one in there. I mean, who cares about one when it sounds that great anyway? One's overrated. Well, I have a question, Simon. There's a friend of yours from school who's been, I think, wants to ask you a question, or maybe he just wants to say hello. His name is Malcolm Redfern.
Malcolm Redfern. Wow.
We were at the same school, aged 14, Waterford Tech. We practiced drums at lunchtime on wooden cheese blocks. Does he remember that?
So would this have been, was this in Bushy Meads School? Or was it Watford Technical High School?
Let's see. I'll go back to what he wrote. He said Bushy Meads School.
Bushy Meads.
Brief time. Oh, he said brief time before he went to Bushy Meads. So I think, sorry, it was at Watford Tech.
Watford Technical High School. Yes,
Yeah,
absolutely,
okay.
Yes. Oh,
And
wow. Yeah.
he said, I'm 68. I'm 68 now, playing in cover bands at the Horns and Waterford Jazz Workshop.
He
is, yeah.
Oh, fantastic! So he actually became a drummer.
I guess so. Yeah.
That's
All right.
wonderful.
Thank you,
Wow.
Malcolm. I know he's been wanting me to say hello to you for him. So,
Hi,
yeah.
Malcolm. Yeah, it's been a long time, but I do remember there was a drum teacher at some point. I can't remember if it was Watford Tech or if it was Bushy Meads, and he didn't realize. Well, of course he didn't realize. I was just a kid, but I was already playing professionally. That's why I left the school I was at, which was a private prep school.
Mm.
My dad did not want me to be a musician, so he sent me to a prep school, and then I was supposed to go to Harrow Public School and wear top hat and tails and stuff, which of course didn't want to do. I wanted to play. And when it came time for me to join the band, I remember the headmaster of the prep school was walking up. We had like a house at the bottom, then a big drive, then a house at the top where the classrooms were. And I was walking up there, and the the headmaster caught up with me and said, right, you have to make a decision, young man. You either stay here and you continue your education, or you join your father's band. And I kind of didn't even know about that. I was going, oh, well, I'll join my father's band then. I didn't even think about it.
Yeah, that's
So
an easy
I
one.
had to leave that private education school, which we call prep schools, a boarding school, boys, and suddenly go to a which would have been a grammar school back in those days, but I think it changed its name, and it was mixed. And from being 12 people, 12 boys in a classroom, suddenly 30 people mixed. It was quite a culture shock, actually.
Bet, yeah.
To get used to. In fact, I only lasted 2 terms at Watford Tech. It was getting difficult for me to. The headmaster wasn't very sympathetic to what I was doing, and we found another. Well, my father found another school that was much more interested in there. Also, there was a teacher there who was a big fan of my dad's, and he arranged a dance where my dad would actually play at the school. And so all the teachers saw what I did for a living. I know it sounds silly, but
No, yeah.
I guess it was for a living. Well, that's what I'm going to do for a living. And so when I moved to that school, it was a better situation because they all knew, so they all understood when I had to go, excuse me, miss, or excuse me, sir, I have to leave. I'm playing Hull tonight or Bristol or somewhere. So, okay, don't forget to do your homework. Right. We'll do that, And I say, hey, guys, I'll see you later. They all knew and,
That's so great. Yeah.
I think the other thing was those 2 terms I spent at Watford Tech. It was winter. It was the winter term and the Easter term, and they played football. At the prep school, we didn't play football. We played rugby and hockey. And so I wasn't very good. I wasn't really a good football player at all, a barely good player, but I was a cricket player. I grew up playing cricket. So the term I joined Bushy Meads was the summer term, which is, of course, cricket and tennis.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, immediately I was, well, okay, here we go. So I was in the second 11, then a first 11. And that helped break the ice with a lot of kids there because it's very strange to them for some kid to be not always at school or leaving halfway through and then turning up halfway through the day because I was sleeping. After getting home at 4 o'clock, from a gig. Sports is a great leveler in schools, and the fact that I was a very keen cricket player and loved it and became the opening bowler for the team there, it really helped kind of friendships and being accepted as a school kid, not as a musician, because I mean, how So, but it's so interesting that Malcolm.
Yeah, I know. And that's a great story. And I think also too, Simon, I think music is also a great leveler kind of from the other standpoint to people kids maybe that aren't great athletes. I mean, you were lucky to excel in both of those areas, music and athletics, but I know that I was a little, like in junior high, I was a little socially awkward initially, but, playing in a band and all of a sudden, it sort of can take you out of your shell a little bit and kids, accept you more readily.
Absolutely.
If you're,
It was great. And I remember with one of the kids at school, the Bushy Mead school, we built a disco together. So we were hired to come do local discos. It was great.
That's great.
Yeah.
Oh man. Well, I had someone comment on what we were talking about before we were on the air, which is a really great Pete Townshend song, "Let My Love Open the Door." And I thought maybe we could just play a little bit of that. This is, if I can find it. I had it. Hang on, everybody. Gonna find this song. Great song. Great song. And this was from the Empty Glass record that we were talking about before.
Mm-hmm.
And this, I found this is a live version from 1993 when you were, do you remember what that tour was that you were doing? It was just a Pete Townshend tour that you were on at the time, Simon?
Derelict.
Say that again?
It was called Psycho Derelict.
Cycle. That's right. Yes, yes.
We played the whole first part of the thing was the psychedelic episode, which we had actors on stage. It was very difficult to do actually because we were playing rock and roll, but we had actors who were also speaking dialogue. So we had to come down really quiet during those. And also the timing was weird because we're musicians, so we have to finish our phrase, whatever the phrase is. It's usually a four-bar phrase. But actors, if they're not musicians, they probably wouldn't think of it like that. So there was always some like awkward moment where they finished their sentence. We still had 2 bars to go. So it took a while to really get used to that. It was awkward at first, but I think we did in the end. We got it. That was great that Pete did that. It was an unusual thing to do at the time, but it worked out wonderfully. And I think this looks like this is from BAM, which is Brooklyn Arts and Music or something like that.
That's exactly Arts Music Academy, or Arts and Music. But you're right.
Academy. Brooklyn Academy of Music. That's it. Yes. And then of course at the end of the concert, once we performed Psychedelic, then we started playing songs like this. So
Gotcha. Okay. And do you remember? I mean, this is really testing your memory, but I feel like when you played at Great Woods and outside of Boston in '93, when you did this, there was something that malfunctioned. Did you guys use like a screen or some sort of projection?
We did. Yes, absolutely.
You did. And I think it malfunctioned that night. And Pete came out and said something in typical Pete, like, the bloody thing isn't working. Fuck it. We're just going to play it anyway, or something like that. But there was something, or maybe in the end you guys did fix it. But I remember there was something with the malfunction
quite possibly, because that was kind of early days in terms of syncing up stuff with screen on stage.
Yeah.
So it's quite possible. I mean, the stuff used to go wrong a lot in those days. It's
right.
Now got it down to a fine art. But back then it was risky. You never knew what was going to happen. But hey, it was great.
Yeah. And this is a great version of this song. One of my favorites as well. Here comes Let My Love Open the Door.
When people keep repeating that you'll never fall in love, when everybody keeps retreating, but you can't seem to get enough. Let my love open the door. Let my love open the door. Let my love open the door to your When everything feels all over, when everybody seems unkind, I'll give you a 4-leaf clover. Take all worry out of your mind. Let my love open the door. Let my love open the door. Let my love open the door to your heart, to your heart. I'm the only key to your heart. I can stop you falling apart. Try today, find this way. Come on and give me a chance to see. Let my love open the door. It's all I'm living for. Release yourself from misery. There's only one thing gonna set you free. It's love. Thank you so much.
Yeah, Pete. Simon, do you remember at the end of that, were you shutting off a click track when you reached over to your left? You looked like you went over to. No, you did. I mean, the click was probably
No, I
up.
don't think so. I think so. That was a tape song. I don't remember. Well, it was 93. I don't remember whether we were running that off an analog machine. On the 89 tour, we were still using analog machines for all those songs that we played along to the Lowry organ
Mhm.
on Won't Get Fooled Again.
Won't Get Fooled Again. Yeah, yeah.
Oh gosh, I got to remember the ARP 2600 on Who Are You?
Mhm.
Barbara Riley, which I believe was also a Lowry arpeggiator.
Yeah, yeah.
I remember going back to those old tapes that had been done really, when Kenny Jones joined the band. So that would have been 79. And he put a cowbell on it. And by that time, the tapes had got pretty worn and they were pretty dull. So I said to Pete, look, we've got a beautiful Clare Brothers S4 system. I really think these tapes should be improved upon. Plus, I'd like to put my own click on. So he said, right, okay, well, off you go. And he lent me a studio and he brought in a 24 track, a 16 track, an 8 track, a synclavier, a console, an MX90, X90 Mitsubishi digital machine. And he said, have at it.
Wow.
And I went back to the original demos, which is where all these parts came from. And some I put into the synclavier, some I put onto the dig. It really just depended which was easier and what needed to be done. And then when some were mono, I made them stereo by using a bit of chorusing. I used to do a trick with 2 graphic equalizers, and I put them one above the other, and I would dip the frequency, let's say 90 hertz, and then I'd put up 125, and then I'd dip the other one, and so it kind of made it a frequency stereo. It wasn't very stereo. I was a bit disappointed. I thought it would work better than that, actually. Mono signal, but at least there were slightly different frequencies each side, and then I used some chorusing, and that really helped make it stereo. And I think I might have even used a pan scan too, which was the old auto pan. So there was like something going on, and it made it a little more exciting in a big PA,
I'll bet, yeah.
which was a Roland D110 clip, which I still use to today. It's in Pro Tools, and I just sat down on a keyboard and just played like this. And, the masters went down to 2 4-track tape machines with Dolby SR, so they were really clean. They were like digital because they were very, very quiet, but it was still analog. And we used to take 2 machines on the road with a mixer and a selector between the 1 and 2. And I think they ran simultaneously with time code. If one were to break down, the other one would continue with a very quick switch over from one machine to the other. So that's how we did the Who tour in 1989.
Yeah.
I'm assuming we did the same in 93 because there wasn't anything digital we could have taken on the road at that time that was capable of producing 4 tracks, as far as I remember.
Mm-hmm.
I know that I changed from using a hard drive with Toto. It was a Fostex for running all these loops and stuff we did. But that would have been 2000, maybe. Trying to think, late 90s, 2000 probably. I think what I would turn around, I was obviously, because the speed that with which I did it, I think I was adjusting a fader.
Okay.
Something was loud or not loud enough.
Yeah.
We may have had other stuff. I think that's what it was. I think those were operated probably by Bobby Pridden at the side of the stage.
Mm-hmm.
He start those tapes. Yeah. So that's what I was doing. Yeah.
Well, talking, and we'll wind things down a bit here. And thank you so much for hanging in with me so long today. I know
Great,
we've
lovely,
gone. Yeah, this is great. Speaking of The Who, I thought we'd play a little something from 1989. From I think that this is I think from the Greek theater performances. It's Pinball Wizard when you guys performed Tommy.
Right.
And was that was at the Greek, I think, right? There was like a live,
Yeah.
or there was something I remember seeing it, but this is something I
Universal.
say that again.
Was it Universal?
It might have been Universal. Now that you say that, yeah, it might have been
It was,
Universal.
'cause we were performing Tommy with all the different artists,
Right.
and it was Universal. Yeah, it was. That was when Phil Collins came, Paddy Austin. Oh gosh, I'm trying to remember. Billy Idol.
Yeah, yeah. I know Elton did a version of Pinball Wizard with you guys, and
Yes.
this one is Roger. It's not, but it's just I guess not from that night or
You know
during
what?
the.
I remember Bob Clear Mountain. He was engineering. I remember the mobile because I went out of the building to listen to something, but I don't remember where we did it. Isn't that funny?
Oh, you racked up a lot of shows that summer, for sure. A lot of
Dude,
Oh, sorry, I didn't mean to.
42 shows.
42 shows. Wow,
Yeah.
42 shows. That's a lot of it's a lot of crash cymbals.
That's a lot of hits. Yes. That's a lot of
All right.
drum head.
Yes, it's a lot of drum hits. Well, this is a great version of Pinball Wizard Live from 1989.
Right.
Of course, Simon Phillips with The Who. Gone bass drum.
Ever since I was a young boy, I played the silver ball. From Soho down to Brighton, I must have played them all. But I ain't seen nothing like you in any amusement hall. That deaf dumb black kid sure plays a neat pinball. He stands like a statue, but don't follow the machine. Eating all the bumpers, always playing clean. Plays by intuition, the digit counts as ball. That deaf dumb black kid sure plays a neat pinball. He's a pinball wizard, has to be a twist. Pinball wizard's got such a submarine. How do you think he does it? I don't know. What makes him so good? Well, he ain't got no distractions, can't hear no bells and bells. Don't see no lights flashing, plays by sense of smell. Always gets a replay, he never tilts at all. That deaf dumb blind kid sure plays a neat pinball. I thought I was the valley table king, but I just handed my pinball crown to him. Even on my favorite table, he can't be my best. The star was leave him in, and he just does the rest. Like plays with little fingers, never seen him fall. That deaf dumb blind kid sure plays a neat pinball.
This is so hip. I have a theory that you had a hand in that arrangement. It's just a theory, but
You know what? I had totally forgotten that, and I have no idea where that came from. I'm thinking it was actually the guy that did one of the brass players who did all the brass charts.
okay.
I think that's where it came from, really. I'm not sure I had anything to do with that. I just don't remember. I really don't.
And it's does it? I mean, is John? Is that like an homage? John Entwistle playing like Ticket to Ride
Absolutely,
or
of
Day
course.
Tripper rather? Day Tripper, yeah,
Yeah, he just
yeah,
started playing that, I think. Yeah.
yeah. That's so great. It's so great. Yeah, that little. I'm listening to it, going like, God, And then when I heard it like for the fourth time, I'm like, okay, that's not just some little riff he's doing. That's
No, no, no.
yeah.
That was it. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
That was great. Well, I want to just thank you for being here, and I want to just play one more song, and we'll wrap it up. And this probably won't be a surprise to a lot of people, but I mean, to me, this song is just. There's so many amazing recordings that you've made, Simon, with so many different people, but "Give Blood" has always been maybe my absolute favorite. I think it's a lot of people's favorites, and it's just such a brilliant piece of music, and your drumming is just it's just off the charts. So yeah.
Wow.
And this is and of course this is Pete Townsend, White City, and this is Pino on bass on this one, Pino Palladino.
Yes, Pino played on it. Yeah, but he
Yeah.
played after the fact because he wasn't at the session.
Oh, okay. I did not know that.
Had no bass player. It was just Pete playing acoustic, Dave Gilmore playing electric, and Rabbit playing some chords on a DX10, I think it was. And yeah, we just we I mean, yeah, I know. It's just one of those strange things that just happened, and it was like two or three takes or something, and it was done.
Yeah. I think I read that somewhere too, where it really was kind of like a jam that Pete sort of left you and David Gilmour and I guess Pino came later, as you say, but just you guys sort of came up with this sort of, germ of the concept of the song.
I just remember Pete going to get a demo and he played the demo. I think it was a DAT tape. And I don't even remember how we got the arrangement together, but it just kind of fell together. I think Pete had the song. I mean,
Yeah, yeah.
it was already done. So, but I don't remember how we got to those different sections.
Right, right.
No,
Yeah.
but I do remember a couple of things about it. I was actually, I'd set up a right hand ride cymbal for some
Ah,
reason. I don't
yeah.
know. And so I was utilizing that. So half the song is left-handed, half the song is right-handed. But I do remember towards the end, I do one fill, which I totally ripped off a Herbie Hancock record called Rocket.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
And if anybody, I don't know if they recognize it, but it's in there just before the last verse.
Okay.
And
It's not the double bass drum thing you do that.
double bass drum, yes.
Oh,
Blah, blah. Yeah.
okay. I was going to mention the double bass drum thing on its own because it's just when I remember hearing this song on the radio going like, "Oh my God, how does he come up with this stuff?" Like, "Oh my God, yeah."
I ripped that off. I don't know why. I thought about it during when we did that take. I thought, oh, that would be really cool. And most of the time I'm playing, I never think about what I'm going to play. I never plan stuff. I just let it happen. That's why I'm terrible at miming because I can never remember what I played on the original track.
Yeah.
So I'm an editor's nightmare when it comes to
Yeah.
video. Stuff.
Oh, that's funny.
Because every time, there's a symbol or I hit a symbol, there's no symbol, the symbol's doing this on the video. Yeah, I didn't even hit one on
And
the
there's no
record.
sound.
I don't know what it is, but I just don't play like that. But on that occasion, I think I thought, oh, I'm going to throw that in just for fun. And it stuck. I don't know how,
Oh, it's so great. And it's so perfect. And I made a note. It's at 4 minutes, 7 seconds where you do that. And it's perfect. It's like so right in time and perfect and epic. So, yeah.
but
All right. Well, here it comes. Yeah. Give Blood, a masterpiece. Pete Townsend, Simon on drums. Here we go. Yeah.
but you may find that blood is not enough. Give blood, and there are some who say it's not enough. Give blood, but don't expect to ever see reward. Give blood, you can give it all, but still you ask for more. Give blood, but it could cost more than your dignity. Give blood, parade your power and iniquity. Give blood, they will cry and say they're in your debt. Give blood, but then they'll sigh and they will soon forget.
We're heading for the day of reckoning. I'm telling you, it's all building up to something. Something that can only be redeemed with fire.
Give love and keep blood between brothers. Give love and keep blood between brothers. Give love and keep blood between brothers. Give love and keep blood between brothers.
Here it comes.
Give blood, but you may find that blood is not enough. Give blood, and there are some who say it's not enough. Give blood, but don't expect to ever see reward. Give blood, you can give it all, and still you'll be asking for more. So give love and keep blood between brothers. Give love and keep blood between brothers. Give love and keep blood between brothers. Give love and keep blood
Here comes the
between
icing.
brothers. Give your love and keep blood between brothers. Give your love and keep blood between brothers. Give love, give love, give love and keep blood between brothers. Give love.
Oh man, Simon, you're a treasure. You really are. You're just incredible.
Lovely.
Yeah.
You know what? I'd love to mention another project, which
Yes, please. Yeah.
and it's this project, and it's called Darwin.
Yeah. Someone did ask about that. I
Yeah.
think there was a comment about that.
And that's just been released, Distorted Mirror. And it's a project I've been involved with for about 10 years now, actually. So it's very close to my heart. It's three of us are writing the music. It's Darwin, Matt Bissonette, and myself, and Mohini is playing bass on it. It's pretty cool stuff. It's prog, it's prog rock,
Yeah.
but it's like prog rock meets Crosby, Stills and Nash,
Oh man. And it's out now. It's something we
Yeah,
can.
just got released, and it's out right now. Yeah.
Fantastic. I will put a link in the show notes to that as well. Yeah.
Great. Yeah.
And all the protocol stuff that we talked about, and a new record coming next year, Protocol 6. And yeah, man. Simon, thank you so much.
Here's all the new music for Protocol 6 I've been working on. So
Busy at it, I'm sure, no doubt. Yeah.
it's fun. It's lovely. It's lovely. Well,
And thank you. And I was just going to say, you're going to record that in January, if I understand correctly, and it'll be out in May. Yep.
exactly. Yeah. So
Perfect.
it should be, I'm really looking forward to it. It's all new music, and new music is always very exciting. And I think it's okay. I mean, you never really know when you're writing music. You just think you do the best you can. If it's believable to you, then, it's okay. We'll see how it works, how it records, and hopefully it'll be out May. I think May the 8th will be the release date.
Great. And hopefully you'll be on the road promoting it, and I'll see you again. And
That's the first show in Europe for us. Yeah.
great.
We'll be playing Catalina's in LA in January, right over the NAMM show. So we'll probably be playing some of the new material as well, because it'll be very fresh in our minds.
Yeah.
And then we do the Cruise to the Edge in March, and we do a whole bunch of East Coast dates too.
Oh, great. Okay. Well, I'll see you at one of those for sure. Yeah.
That'd be great. Yeah, it'd be lovely.
Yeah.
I'm
Thank you,
looking at
Simon.
your Heyman kit right behind you.
Well, yeah. And I remembered you played Heyman in the early days. Yeah.
What color is it? Is it midnight blue?
It's black, actually.
It's black.
yeah.
I had a midnight blue one in 1972, and I just recently got a Heyman snare drum, the one finished in gold.
Oh yeah. They're great snare. I have the matching black one, and it's a great snare drum.
Loud.
Yeah.
A loud drum. I actually had to change the strainer and the butt on it. I wasn't working very well. And in fact, you know what I did? I changed out all of the lugs and the threads to take American, the square lugs, tension rods.
Yeah. Yep.
The slotted ones are really hard, and I didn't have a slotted key. That was the problem. And it's also annoying when you change snare drums on doing a session or something, and I'm going, oh, where's the key?
And even with the slotted key, it's really hard to do it, as you know. It just doesn't fit it right.
I know. So I got the stuff, I think, from Gibraltar, but it needed a lot of filing and sawing and stuff, because each one of those inserts didn't fit into the lug, the square bit, the bit that holds it. So I had to file each side down.
Oh, man.
But it works. It actually works, So that's now converted with all square tension rods. So
that's great. I've thought about it. There's a guy locally that does that sort of work, and I've thought about taking it to him. I just hadn't really pursued it, but yeah.
And of course, it's a different thread. That's the problem.
Yeah.
But the other ones didn't fit. So yeah, cool.
Well, thank you, Simon. Hang with me for 1 minute. We'll end the stream and say goodbye. But thank you for watching, everybody. Big hand for Simon Phillips.
Thank you. Yes, thanks for all being here. Yeah.
Awesome. All right. Thanks, Simon. All right, that's my show. If you enjoyed it, give it a like, leave me a comment, and please subscribe to my YouTube channel. You can also download all the episodes on all podcast platforms. And please visit my website, livefrommydrumroom.com, for upcoming shows and information on purchasing Live From My Drum Room t-shirts and hoodies. 100% of the proceeds go toward a scholarship I've created with the Percussive Arts Society. The link is also in the show notes. And you can contact me through my website or at livefrommydrumroom@gmail.com. And remember, no drummers are harmed on any show. And drummers, when in doubt, leave it out. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. And I'll see you again real soon.